Some films hit different, not because of the acting, not even because of the story, but because of the music. The soundtrack ends up being the thing that takes you straight back to that moment in your life. So let's dive into 5 films where the soundtrack wasn't just part of the movie, it shaped the culture around it.
I've crossed deserts for miles, swam water.
The year 2000. Leonardo DiCaprio had just come off Titanic, biggest film in the world. And suddenly he's running around Thailand, chasing some hidden paradise in the beach. The film itself, let's be honest, kind of a mixed bag. Some people loved it, others thought it was a mess. But the soundtrack, that's where it really landed. You've got Moby, Faithless, All Saints, New Order, pure turn of the millennium electronica, dreamy beats mixed with a little late-night club energy. It wasn't just a soundtrack for the movie, it was the sound of a generation. This was the CD you'd play before going traveling. It was the playlist of gap years, backpacking trips, nights out that blurred into mornings. Even if you were stuck at home in the rain, pressing play gave you that feeling of freedom. The Beach might not have become a classic movie, but the soundtrack, that outlived it. For a whole generation, those songs are basically bottled nostalgia. The sound of adventure, wanderlust, and maybe a little bit of escapism at the turn of the millennium.
So this is goodbye.
Next up, Almost Famous. Honestly, this one's just pure comfort for anyone who loves music. It's Cameron Crowe's love letter to 70s rock and roll, and you can feel it in every frame. The soundtrack is stacked. You've got Led Zeppelin, Elton John, the Allman Brothers, The Who. It's like he raided the ultimate classic rock vinyl collection and dropped it straight into the film. And it doesn't feel forced either. It feels like these songs belong there. There's that one scene everyone remembers, the bus ride. The band is miserable. Nobody's talking. Everything feels tense. Then Tiny Dancer by Elton John comes on. And one by one, they start singing. By the end, the whole bus is joining in. It's cheesy when I explain it, but in the moment, it's magic. You can feel how music has this way of pulling people together, even when everything else is falling apart. Crowe has actually said he had to fight for those songs. Studios thought it was too expensive, but he wouldn't back down. He knew without them, the film wouldn't feel authentic. And he was right. The music is what makes the movie so believable. In my opinion, Almost Famous isn't really about journalism or even about fame. It's about that obsession we've all had at some point. When music feels like it means everything. When a song can change your mood, or a gig can change your whole life. That's why the soundtrack isn't just background here, it's the heart of the story. Next up, Quentin Tarantino's masterpiece, Pulp Fiction. Now this film changed the game, not just for Tarantino as a director, but for how people thought about music in movies. See, most films have a score, orchestras, original compositions, music written just for that story. Tarantino threw that out the window. He didn't bother with a traditional score at all. Instead, he built the entire film around songs he loved, stuff he grew up with, surf rock, soul, forgotten gems from old records. It was like he made the ultimate mixtape and then wrote a movie to fit around it. Right from the start, he set the tone. The opening credits hit, and Mr. Lou by Dick Dale comes blasting in, that wild surf guitar shredding at full speed. In the 90s, nobody was really listening to surf rock anymore, but suddenly it felt fresh, cool, dangerous. That one song basically reintroduced a whole genre to a new generation, and it doesn't stop there. You've got Urge Overkill's cover of Girl You'll Be a Woman Soon, Kool and the Gang, Al Green, Dusty Springfield, and more. Every track is doing more than just filling silence. It's adding personality and building the world. And the impact? Massive. After Pulp Fiction, every filmmaker wanted their movie to have that cool mixtape feel. Suddenly, soundtracks were selling as well as the films themselves, and people were buying the Pulp Fiction soundtrack on CD and listening to it like an album. Now let's rewind back to the 90s. Another Danny Boyle classic, Trainspotting. If you grew up in Britain, you already know how big this film was. It wasn't just a movie, it was the film of a generation. It captured the chaos of being young in the 90s, the highs of nights out, the lows of addiction, the humor, the darkness, all of it. The soundtrack is legendary. Right from the start, you've got Iggy Pop's Lust for Life kicking in as Renton sprints through the streets of Edinburgh. And then, at the other end of the film, you've got Born Slippy by Underworld blasting through the climax. Together, those two tracks bookend the film perfectly, one showing the chaos and recklessness of youth, the other capturing the euphoric rush of the club scene. For a lot of people, Trainspotting was their first introduction to that world. The drugs, the nightlife, the music, and it brought underground rave culture crashing into the mainstream. The soundtrack didn't just complement the story, it tapped into the pulse of British youth. Blur, New Order, Lou Reed, it was like a mixtape of the decade, messy and eclectic, just like the times. Culturally, Trainspotting became bigger than cinema. Fashion, nightlife, even the way people talked. It all fed off the film and its soundtrack. Danny Boyle wasn't exaggerating when he said the music was as important as the characters. Without those songs, Trainspotting wouldn't have become the cultural explosion it was. Finally, Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. Honestly, it's Shakespeare like nobody had ever seen it before. Think less dusty school textbook, more MTV fever dream. The story is 400 years old, but the way it was presented felt brand new. Guns instead of swords, neon crosses, wild party scenes, and then you've got the soundtrack, which completely tied it all together. Radiohead, Garbage, The Cardigans, Des'ree. It was angsty, emotional, pure 90s energy. This wasn't just background music, it was what gave the film its pulse. Without those tracks, the whole thing could have fallen flat. One of the coolest little details is Tom York from Radiohead wrote exit music for a film after seeing an early cut of the movie. He said it was about two people who should just run away before everything goes wrong. Even though it only played over the credits, it became one of Radiohead's most iconic songs. The soundtrack didn't just make the film modern, it made it relatable. Teenagers in the 90s didn't see it as some boring old play anymore. They saw themselves in it. The fashion, the drama, the music, it was their world, just dialed up and made cinematic. So that's it, 5 films, where the soundtrack wasn't just background noise, it was the thing that shaped culture for years to come. But what about you? Which film soundtrack takes you straight back to a moment in your life? Drop it in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more.